Have you noticed that lately? Everything feels like a chore. Getting out of bed, going to work, going to the gym, replying to messages, even things you used to enjoy. It's not that you've stopped caring. It's not that you've suddenly become lazy. But somehow, everything feels heavier than it used to. And the strange thing is, most people assume the problem is motivation. They tell themselves they need more discipline, more willpower, a better routine. But what if the real problem isn't motivation at all? What if the reason everything feels like a chore is because your brain is exhausted? Because modern life asks a lot from your attention. From the moment you wake up, your brain starts processing information, notifications, messages, emails, news, social media, decisions, responsibilities, problems that need solving. And even when it doesn't feel overwhelming in the moment, all of it adds up. Your brain is constantly working in the background, constantly processing, constantly switching between tasks, constantly being pulled in different directions. And eventually, that mental load starts to show up in unexpected ways. One of those ways is that ordinary life starts feeling difficult, not because the tasks themselves became harder, but because you're trying to complete them with an exhausted mind. Think about what happens when your phone battery drops to 10%. The phone still works, but it doesn't perform the same way. Everything feels slower, less responsive, less efficient. Your brain can be exactly the same. When your mental energy is low, simple tasks suddenly feel bigger. A load of washing feels annoying. A trip to the supermarket feels exhausting. Even replying to a message can feel like effort. Another reason everything feels like a chore is decision fatigue. Most people make hundreds of decisions every day. What to wear, what to eat, what to watch, what to prioritize, what to ignore. And every decision requires mental energy. By the end of the day, your brain starts looking for shortcuts. It wants the easiest option available. That's why scrolling on your phone often feels easier than doing something productive. Not because you're lazy, because your brain is trying to conserve energy. Another thing that makes life feel harder is constant stimulation. We're surrounded by instant rewards, videos, notifications, entertainment, endless content, and compared to those quick bursts of stimulation, real life can start to feel slow. The gym doesn't provide instant results. Learning a skill takes time. Building something meaningful takes effort. Improving your health takes consistency. But when your brain becomes used to instant rewards, normal life starts feeling less exciting. And when things feel less exciting, they start feeling like chores. Another problem is that many people never truly recover. They stop working, but they don't actually rest. Instead, they replace one form of stimulation with another. Work becomes scrolling. Scrolling becomes watching. Watching becomes more scrolling. The brain stays active the entire time. So when the next day arrives, they're carrying yesterday's mental fatigue with them. And over time, that exhaustion builds. Another thing people rarely consider is emotional fatigue. Stress isn't always obvious. Sometimes you're carrying worries in the background without realizing it. Finances, family, work, health, relationships. Even when you're not actively thinking about those things, your brain is still carrying them. And carrying weight for long enough eventually makes everything feel heavier. So what should you do if everything feels like a chore? Start by stopping the self-criticism, because calling yourself lazy won't solve the problem. Shaming yourself won't create more energy, and guilt won't make things easier. Instead, ask yourself a different question. What is draining me? What is taking more energy than it's giving back? Because once you identify the source, you can start making changes. Maybe you need better recovery. Maybe you need less stimulation. Maybe you need fewer commitments. Maybe you simply need more space to breathe. The goal isn't to become more productive every second of the day. The goal is to stop running your brain into the ground. Because when your mental energy returns, something interesting happens. Life starts feeling lighter again. The gym feels enjoyable. Simple tasks stop feeling overwhelming. You stop fighting yourself all the time. And slowly, the things that once felt like chores start feeling manageable again. So if everything feels harder than it should right now, don't immediately assume you're lazy. Don't assume you've lost motivation. And don't assume something is wrong with you. You might simply be mentally exhausted. And once you start recovering, life often feels very different.